So you have the Yamaha MT-15 version 2.0, you have the Suzuki Gixxer 250, you have the new Charisma, you have the Dominar, you have the Speed 400, you have the new KTM Duke 250, you have the Honda CB300R, the Harley X440, the new RTR 310 and the Yazdi Roadster. I mean, when was the last time you came across a bike which could take on motorcycles from 3 different segments all by itself? Well, meet the new 2024 Bajaj Pulsar NS400Z, which intends to do just that with its insane 1.85 lakh price tag. Now, how on earth have Bajaj managed to pull this rabbit out of the hat? With a fascinating concoction of platform sharing, cost cutting and a dash of tech for some bragging rights. So as you can see, this is clearly based heavily on the NS200, but it gets the 373cc liquid cooled 40 horsepower engine and this twin spar perimeter frame straight from the Dominar. But if you come here, the Grimeca caliper on this is axial, and also at the back the rear tire is a thinner 140 by 70 section, but it is a radial because the front is in fact a cross ply. All small cost cutting measures to hit that crazy 1.85 lakh price tag. But to still keep you interested, you get ride-by-wire throttle now, which means Bajaj have been able to incorporate 4 riding modes which alter the ABS as well as the throttle inputs. You also get switchable traction control and Bluetooth connectivity. But the real reason the NS400 will make you stand up and take notice is This is what I'm talking about. How is this for a number? Because at 174 kgs weight, the Pulsar 400 is a solid 18 kgs lighter than the Dominar and a solid 4 kgs lighter than even the Speed 400. And then when you add the larger sprocket to the mix, you're essentially looking at one of the most engaging Pulsars yet. It reminds me a lot of the old Duke 390 in terms of feel. There's not much happening below 5500 RPM, but once it gets into its stride, it goes like no other Pulsar has. With the transmission from the Dominar playing the perfect accomplice, because it is well spaced out, it is slick and it is precise. I think in terms of buzz, this has the right amount, which keeps you involved, it enhances the riding experience. But in the higher revs, especially in the 5th and 6th gear, the buzz settles down to comfortably allow you to cruise at a very decent 125 to 130 kilometers an hour. The slipper clutch too is damn good, allowing you to get the back to come out, but that's mainly down to the low grip offered by the MRF tires. I mean, the grip is so bad that you can actually understand why this bike needed traction control in the first place. Well, I think Bajaj hadn't fully accounted for the damage that these tires can do, because despite the reduction in the unsprung weight, especially with the wheels, lighter wheels, the braking is still heavily compromised because of the low grip offered by the tires, because under hard braking, you just end up triggering the ABS, thereby increasing the braking distance. Secondly, the tires, the low grip, have also rendered the prowess of this twin spar frame almost useless, because with such low grip, you'll never be able to get anywhere close to the true potential of this chassis. And corners are not as much fun on the NS400 as they ought to be. But there is another factor at play here which affects the NS400 and gets in the way of showcasing its true potential in terms of riding dynamics. I'm not sure why Bajaj decided to go with such a short wheelbase on this bike, because at 1344 millimeters, it's 20 millimeters shorter than the NS200. And the end result is it's made this bike insanely twitchy during quick change of direction and at higher speeds. I mean, at this point, the Dominar 400 with all its extra weight feels more confidence inspiring in corners in these situations than the NS400, and that's saying something. And part of that is also down to the fact that the rear is not exactly in sync with the front suspension in terms of rebound damping. The front is sorted, but the rear doesn't have enough damping, especially in comparison to the front, which makes the rear hop around quite a bit, especially when it's not under load. The only advantage of having less rebound damping at the back is you have slightly better ride quality, which makes your daily commutes a little bit more comfortable. And also on that front, the ergonomics are pretty much spot on. They are nice and upright. You have a decent amount of room to move around. But don't think about long distances because you only have a 12-litre tank, and the engine is not the most frugal in terms of fuel economy, offering a range of about just 220 odd kilometers. But the other thing which you would like in the city is how approachable the seat height is at 805 millimeters. There were 165 mm of ground clearance. The slip and assist clutch is nice and light to operate. Also, the engine manages heat really well. It doesn't really heat up too much. And also, because of the shorter wheelbase, the NS400 in the city is really quick on its feet. It's very easy to manage in the city. And lastly, the headlight, I think, is personally one of the best in business, especially in this segment, and also 3 segments that it covers in terms of both intensity and throw. So what do I make of the biggest Pulsar yet? I think if you can slap on stickier rubber, which I'm sure you can afford considering how much you're saving with this price tag, it packs a lot of potential and also offers tremendous value. I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of the design when I first saw it, but over the last week or so, it's really grown on me, especially in this paint scheme. But I think it also has a lot more to do with the way this engine performs and how engaging it is to ride. So the biggest challenge, the way I see it for Bajaj, is to ensure that the NS400 that you buy is more like this machine right here and not the first unit which I tested, which was an absolute disaster. The engine felt very bogged down and the suspension was really poorly damped. And that's not acceptable because you cannot have such a big disparity between 2 identical motorcycles. So if Bajaj can actually go ahead and have better quality checks, better measures to ensure that you don't have such a big disparity and the motorcycle actually rides like this, then I have no doubt that the NS400Z has the potential to absolutely dominate all of these said segments.